Let me hit the record button. This is a message for everybody who is watching the recording and who isn't here in the live session. If on beforehand you are planning to watch the recording only and you do not plan to participate in the live session, please do not register for the live session. I will post the recording on YouTube. And if you watch my YouTube channel, that is rhcert.com, then you will know where you can find the recording, or subscribe to my newsletter. You will know how to find the recording. I'm paying money to Citrix to host more than 50 people in this session, and if in the end it shows up that I have less than 50 people, it feels like I'm just paying money for nothing, and I don't like wasting stuff. So please, if you are not planning to attend the live session, do not register for the recording. Welcome everybody. My name is Sander van Vught. I'm glad to see some of you that I've seen before, so welcome back to many of you. We are doing a session today on the installation of an IPA server. I have planned a couple of new webinars that are going to prepare you for RHCSA and RHCE. So before we get started, I would like to show you what exactly it is that we are going to do. If you see weird things happening on the screen right now, that's correct. I am trying to find the browser. There it is. And if we go to my website, rhcert.com, you can find a list of all the online trainings I'm going to host in the next couple of months. I'm trying to do one webinar every week. Sometimes I'm busy and I have to skip a week, but by the end of April we will be done with the topics of this series of webinars. Today is February 5th, configuring your own LDAP server using FreeIPA. What we are going to do in this session, well, pretty easy. We are going to set up an LDAP server. This is an interesting session because setting up an LDAP server is not an RHCSA requirement and it is not an RHCE requirement. But yet I still feel that it is necessary to talk about setting up an LDAP server. And why is that? Well, the reason is that if you want to study RHCSA or RHCE at home, you need to set up LDAP authentication. You need to set up Kerberos authentication. If you want to do RHCE, you need to set up NFS Kerberos shares. And that is only going to work in your home environment if you have an LDAP server that's offering Kerberos and stuff like that as well. If you go attend a Red Hat training in a Red Hat class, then Red Hat is providing a classroom for you where you can access the LDAP server during class. If you are using my materials like my video courses or my book, well, you have to figure out something for yourself. Last week, I have seen some of you attending my session about my new virtual machines. If you have found my virtual machines that come with my course, with my courseware, then you know that I've got a server with the name Lab IPA. Basically, what we are doing in this session is how to set up a Lab IPA server yourself. This session is highly recommended for RHCE audience because if you want to be able to troubleshoot problems with LDAP authentication, with Kerberos authentication, with Kerberized NFS, well, then you better understand what is happening on the LDAP server. This is also new in the series of webinars I'm hosting this year. I'm providing some more background information because I noticed, based on the feedback of my customers, that people really do appreciate knowing what exactly it is that they are doing. So the next session is on February 19th. I'm not even sure if that's correct. Maybe that needs to be changed because, I'm an annoying guy. I'm a very busy guy. Sometimes I do change dates of the sessions. And I do have the feeling that next week we are doing something as well. Let me just check my agenda. Next week, we don't do anything next week. That's surprising. Let me offer you something next week as well. Make sure to watch my newsletter to get the most up-to-date information. So the next session, according to this calendar, is an RHCE topic working with MariaDB databases. Why am I including that session? Well, I know that many old school Linux guys that have been working with Linux for a long time have never done much with MariaDB. And if you haven't ever done any SQL, then it is kind of difficult getting into SQL and knowing what it all is about. And in this session, I'm trying to provide some structure to explain what it is that you need to be doing in MariaDB databases while you are on the RHCE exam. The February 23 session is going to be an interesting one. It's going to be about understanding Kerberos. What I don't like too much is that there is a lot of Kerberized stuff that you need to do in RHCE right now, and these Kerberized assignments, as they are proposed by Red Hat, just focus on the utilities that need to use Kerberos. I don't want to just teach you how to set up Kerberos. No, I mean, I don't want to teach you just how to set up Kerberized applications. I also would like to explain a little bit about Kerberos itself. So the third session is not a session that is going to be very important for the RHCE exam itself, because you are not going to configure any Kerberos server. But if you want to understand what you are doing, which really helps passing the RHCE exam, well, I think it does make sense knowing a bit about Kerberos. Then we get to March 01, setting up LDAP authentication, which is an RHCSA level. The LDAP authentication is a little bit of a painful topic, and that is because depending on the version of Red Hat Enterprise Linux you are using, depending on the kind of installation you have done for Red Hat Enterprise Linux, you may run into many different kinds of trouble. I don't like that, and I want to present the method of configuring LDAP authentication in a way that it works. I have noted it as an RHCSA session. I should probably change it to RHCSA plus RHCE. I think on 1st of March, I'm not only going to do LDAP authentication, I'm also going to do a Kerberized authentication, because it's the same procedure, and you need to do it anyway before understanding the mother of all sessions, configuring Kerberized NFS. Yeah, Gianmarco, NFS and Kerberos is simply a nightmare. I totally agree on that. And it is a nightmare because it is very picky about the software that you have installed, the version of the software that you have installed, and there are so many reasons why it can go wrong. Shaq, you thought it was easy. Wow, lucky you. That's probably because you attended one of my classes, right? Many people are failing RHCE because of Kerberized NFS. I don't like that, so I want to help you with that. If you have read my newsletter last week, oops, wrong button, then you have seen that I am providing a downloads area on my server. I will show you the downloads area. I have also rewritten my exercise, which is about setting up Kerberized NFS. It wasn't as good as I wanted it to be, so I have rewritten it, and it's a free download on my FTP server. Just go to the website. I will show you in a minute or so how it works. Download it, and at least you have a nice procedure. And if you also want to understand the procedure, come back on March 1st. On March, that is March 10th. On March 22nd, we'll be doing setting up a caching-only DNS server. I'm just doing it because I don't like the subject. And I'm teaching live classes as well. And I noticed that during a live class, I always try to find an excuse not to tell my people about the caching only DNS server. So I want to provide something useful about that topic as well, and that is why we are doing setting up cache only DNS, which is also RHCE. April 6th is the advanced Apache features. Think of default and virtual hosts of TLS and of Azure Linux stuff that is related to Apache. April 15th, there will be an RHCSA topic, which is configuring auto mount. Speaks for itself, but still it's one of the most complicated topics in RHCSA. April 22nd, I rescheduled understanding Azure Linux. And I have just rescheduled that one because I notice on every class I'm teaching, people like a refresher about Azure Linux. And on April 29th, I have scheduled an open Q&A. I wanted to do something different, and I want to just chat with you. I want to hear about your problems, and I want to provide answers in that session. So that's a very interesting session. If you have any urgent needs that you want me to talk about, I'm going to invite you somewhere mid-April to send me your question by email so that I can do a little bit of preparation to make it a better session for you. And during this session, I will provide answers. Something new, and I just want to see how it's happening. Now, something else. If you are looking at my LinkedIn posts, you might have seen it today. I have posted something on LinkedIn which is about Safari Books Online. Safari Books Online is an amazing platform where you can find all of my courses. So here is the Red Hat book, and here are the video courses. Very proud of my new video course, still in a rough cut, which is pre-release. It's my OpenStack video course. That's not what I wanted to talk about. What I do want to talk about is this. If you look at the top titles, then you select the books, the videos, you can see that right now my Red Hat RHCSA course is number 6. I'm very happy with that because it has been number 13 a month ago. I wasn't too satisfied with that. And I would like the RHCSA course to be here, number 1. And you want to help me with that. This is the deal. I am going to host an online RHCE course somewhere in April, May. It has yet to be scheduled. And I am going to give away 10 free places for the RHCE course if my course is going to be number 1. So how does it work? I need people to watch the RHCSA video course. So you watch it. You send me a screenshot of you watching the course, so just your browser with my video course in it. And if you do, you qualify for one of the 10 free seats. And at the day that you see that I am number 1, watch your email, watch my newsletter, because I will be announcing the 10 people that get a free seat for my RHCE 7 course. That's a complete course, by the way. I think it's going to be 6 times 3 hours. Online with recorded sessions and so on. If I'm going to be number 1, I want to celebrate that with you, my customers, as a sign of appreciation. So that's all for now. I think we should get started and talk about the topic of today, the IPA server. Let me select the correct screen. Could I just have confirmation that you can see my virtual machine right now? Okay, very, very good. If during the session anything is happening, let me know by chat. I try to keep an eye on the chat. I try to be responsive to what is happening on the chat. I also will do Q&A at the end of this session. This session is an hour in total. I promised my wife to be back at 7 p.m. It is in my time zone. So yeah, the last 10-15 minutes depends on how much I've got to tell about this IPA server. I will do Q&A about the IPA server, of of course. Let me go to the terminal screen here and zoom in a little bit. Normally I do Control plus, but for some reason Control plus doesn't work in this setting. Oh, that's the wrong direction. Now we're getting the right direction. And I hope this font size is readable. Is it? Can you read it? If not, let me know by chat. You can read it. Very good. Thank you very much. Okay, we are going to install an IPA server. What is an IPA server? An IPA server is a server that is providing different things. It is providing LDAP, it's providing Kerberos, it's providing DNS as well. Red Hat had a product that they sold with the name Identity Management. Instead of just selling it, they have now included it in Red Hat Enterprise Linux 7. So I think since 6.3, you can install the IPA server from the repositories. And when you do it, you've got your own LDAP server with Kerberos and DNS and more nice things. With a nice web interface that is not complicated at all, but which is, well, relatively easy to use. If you are going to set up your own IPA server, you don't necessarily need my IPA server that I'm providing in the virtual machines anymore, and you can just use this. Oh, in case you have missed it, if you are using my my book or if you are using my video courses, I have provided new virtual machines. In my video course, I'm talking about an online server. I'm going away from the idea of providing the classroom server as an online server. So last week, I've uploaded new virtual machines to my website. Just go to the website download section to download the virtual machines. I'm still working on some additional information on how to use the virtual machines in specific environments. So Justin, I know that you are still waiting for some information. I'm working on that, and I'm hoping to provide more information during the weekend. The good thing about the new virtual machines, I've created them in OVA format, and they are usable in VMware Workstation, VMware Fusion, Oracle VirtualBox, as well as KVM. And I'm going to work on videos and a document that's going to explain how to use them in all of these environments. In fact, I'm working on an update on the book. The update on the book will be available for everyone who has my RHCSA RHCE 7 cert guide as an ebook. And in the update of the book, I also I'm going to describe the new virtual machines and how you can install them. I hope that my document explaining all of that will be ready by the end of this weekend. That's a nice question, Hussein. What about Hyper-V if we want to use it? You know, Hyper-V, I didn't test it. And that's running on a platform that's completely out of my scope. It's a server-based hypervisor as well. And that is not really what I'm targeting with my virtual machines. I'm just guessing that OVA is the Open Virtualization Archive. It contains an OVF, which is an open virtualization format file. And as far as I know, everybody has support for that. Look at the VirtualBox procedure or the other procedures if you want to try it in Hyper-V. And please do let me know. Okay, let's talk about IPA. Before doing IPA, you need to make sure that your server meets the requirements. First, you need a dedicated server. If you are going to install IPA on a server where you have already done DNS or Apache or whatever, it's going to mess up your server. So you need a dedicated server. Also, you need some disk space. I've got 11 gigs for my root partition here, and that is more than enough. And you need some RAM as well. If you can afford it, use 2 gigabytes, but if you are using 1 gigabyte, then that will do as well. I will do it on 1 gigabyte. Also important is the Red Hat release. You probably know that in the file etc Red Hat-release you can see the current release. I have updated the Red Hat release of my CentOS machine to version 7.2. So the minimum disk requirement, Tajinder, is, well, I would recommend 12 gigabytes. So if you create a virtual machine, just create a disk file that is 12 gigabytes. So the first thing to do is create Red Hat or update the machine that you are going to use to make sure that you are on version 7.2. Next, you need to set the name. If you want to comply to what I'm using in my book, then the name should be labipa.example.com. I know that in some exercises I have used the name ipa.example.com. You can just set up etc host to match both of them. Next, you need to set IP addressing as well. If you want to comply to what I'm doing in my book, the IP address is going to be 192.168.4.200. The default gateway is going to be 192.168.4.2, and you need DNS temporarily to be set to 8888 because you want to have internet access. While installing the server, you need to install the server with a graphical interface. One of the nice things about the IPA server is that it comes with a web interface. And I would like you to be able to run everything on one machine, so use the web interface. You can use default partitioning on the server hard disk, and next, you need to make sure to switch off SE Linux. I know this is terrible what I'm going to say now, because in some other session I'm going to tell that you should never switch off SE Linux. But I don't want it to be perfect. I just want you to be able to work with the software in a smooth way. So switch off SE Linux. That is set enforce 0, and that is, oops, not dash but 0, and that is vim on etc sysconfig SE Linux. You are going to set the parameter SE Linux is enforcing to SE Linux is permissive. So that also after a reboot it is set to permissive mode. Disabled mode goes too far as far as I'm concerned. Putting SE Linux in disabled mode is something really bad, which you should never do. Permissive is acceptable, so that by the time you've learned all about SE Linux, hopefully you want to fix it and put SE Linux back in enforcing mode. You need to make sure that you have access to the installation repository, so let me do yum repo list. And we can see that I have access to the CentOS repositories. And you need to edit the etc hosts file. After a default installation, you have localhost only, and what you need to add is name a resolution for this machine. Now, I have just told you that the IP address should be set to 192.168.4.200, as I already have another machine running on that IP address, my regular IPA server. Just to avoid any confusion, I'm doing something else and I'm running it on 222. labipa.example.com should be the name. And just to make sure that you are, oops, what's happening here? I'm working in a graphical interface. Ew. Just to make sure that you are compatible with all the exercises, it's a good idea to also use ipa.example.com. I'm not going to do that here, just a small recommendation. And if you don't like typing, use lab IPA, and that will do it. During the installation, it will check for the name of your server, and it needs to be able to resolve the server name. And well, you need to modify etc host to do that. Once you've done that, you can start installing the software, which is yum install ipa-server bind-dindb LDAP and IPA server DNS. This is going to take a while, so... Oh, this is unexpected. Could not resolve host. Unexpected network troubleshooting. Oh, this is one of these nice new features. If you update CentOS 7.0 to 7.2, it breaks your network. Let's find out real fast what is happening here. I'm on 4.222 IP route show. I do not have a default router. That might be an explanation. So IP route at default via 192.168.4.2, and let's try again. I can ping some random host on the internet, so probably if I try it again, it is going to work. While it is working on installing the software, I'm going to open another window because I want my network to be working after a restart of this machine as well. Because otherwise it doesn't really help you to have this IPA server. Oh yeah, I was using a lab IPA MTA. MTA stands for Meet the Author. I think Meet the Author is nicer than webinar. Webinar is just to webinar. And I would like to have 3 more people attending tonight so that I didn't pay money for nothing to get to allow more than 50 people to allow to attend the session. So if you have any friends who have nothing to do, call them, have them join my session. Okay, let's have a look at etc sysconfig. Network scripts ifcfg -eth0. Just want to check that the gateway is set to 192.168.4.2. This is the CentOS installation program that has installed it, but you know what? It doesn't like 0 in the gateway. So gateway is just gateway. Because how many default routers can you have, right? So just one gateway to 192.168.4.2. This is one of those nice little problems that you should know about before taking the exam. I was just wondering, I might do a session on NMCLI next week. I have nothing to do next week on Friday, and I don't have networking anywhere in this series of webinars. So yeah, keep an eye on my newsletter and other social media stuff. I might announce a session on NMCLI next week, a network manager. David is asking, should we edit these files directly when using Network Manager? Yes, it's no problem. Using NMCLI is nicer, but that's a long command and it's complicated. You can perfectly edit them directly. So let me continue. We now have the software installed. Oh, by the way, at the end of this session, I'm going to tell you where you can download the procedure from my website. I'm going to show you, so you don't have to take notes. I've written it all down for you, and at the end of the session, I'm going to tell you where you can find it. So IPA server install is what I'm going to do. Oops, before I'm going to do that, Vim on etc hosts, because my lab IPA is not lab IPA, it's lab IPA MTA. Don't do this in your own environment. This is just for this server to have no conflicts with the other IPA server I'm running. So what I can do now is IPA server install --setup DNS. By default, the IPA server does not include any DNS. If you want to be hosting Kerberos, you do need DNS. So make sure to include this option --setup DNS. Let's have a quick look at what it is doing. So it will be setting up an IPA server. It contains certificate authority. That is TLS certificates. Yes, Gianmarco, I noticed what you mentioned. Okay. Okay, I was thinking you were mentioning something else, but it was a typo in the command. Never mind, just ignore. So you're getting a certificate authority. You are getting NTP time daemon. This is one of the reasons why you should run IPA on a dedicated server, because you might be aware that on RHEL 7, cronny is the default time service, and NTP is going to create a conflict with cronny. So it creates an instance of directory server. That is the open source 389 directory server, which is an LDAP server. You may know it already from a Fedora environment. It is going to create a KDC, which is, let's call it a Kerberos server for now. It is going to host Apache because we want a web page to manage it, and it contains DNS as well. As you can see here, cronid will be disabled. And as you can see here, it is asking for the server hostname. This is an important step. If you are installing your own IPA server and it doesn't prompt you with the hostname, you should get out of the installation and you should set your hostname before moving on. You cannot successfully install an IPA server if you don't have the hostname in the IPA configuration. IPA is very picky about the configuration that you are using. This is also one of the reasons why people have experienced problems with my virtual machines. Because you know what? If you don't deal with networking in your virtual environment, you will get a new network interface, you will get a new IP address, and the IPA server really is going to need the IP address that your virtual machine had at the moment that it was created. Watch my session about virtual machines, which is on YouTube right now, if you want to know more about these virtual machines. So this is important. And stop here if it doesn't match. Next, it is determining DNS, which is example.com in my environment. If the hostname is OK and FQDN, then DNS is OK as well. In Kerberos, we've got a realm. A realm is like a Microsoft Windows domain, like in Windows NT domains. And the realm name typically is the DNS domain that you're in all uppercase. There's nothing that needs to be changed here. Don't go do any experiments. Just keep the realm name the way it is. Unless you want to fail and see how many ways there are to fail the IPA installation. Next, we've got the directory manager. The directory manager, if we talk about directory with an uppercase D, as mentioned here, we are talking about LDAP. So that is the LDAP directory. And you need to set a password for the LDAP directory manager. You probably know that I like very secure passwords, so I'm typing password and password again. You will notice, by the way, that in some point in time you need to change those passwords. I would recommend to change it to something that is easy to remember, like password 123. If you are using my virtual machines on the older versions, I had to update the password, so you might have to use password 123 instead of password for the admin. Now what we get here is the administrative user. Thank God that they didn't call him administrator, but admin. But this admin user, which is your LDAP administrator, needs a password as well. And I'm going to set it to password. I'm going to remove it because I think I just made a typo. And let me do it again. And next it is telling that an existing bind configuration has been detected, and if you want to overwrite it. Now, what is that? The bind configuration, that is your DNS. So I don't want to use the current DNS. I want to overwrite it with the DNS that is provided by IPA. So the answer is going to be yes. Do you want to configure DNS forwarders? Yes, absolutely. Because this server is going to be my DNS server, and well, I want to forward everything that is for the internet to something on the internet to keep my DNS server as simple as possible. You don't have to use forwarders. You can do it the decent way, but using forwarders is the easiest way. So set it to something like 8888 and bother Google with it, or any other DNS server. Then it is, oh, I'm being stupid. I needed to answer yes before entering the IP address. I wasn't actually reading what it was asking me. Next it asks again if you want another forwarder. No, one forwarder is just enough. Then it asks if you want to configure the reverse zone. You do need to configure the reverse zone. The reverse zone, if you press enter on that, then you can see that the reverse zone is set to 4.168.192.in-adder.arpa. Now what is that? That is what is going to help your DNS to find out which DNS name belongs to a specific IP address. And this is mandatory information. You do need to set up the reverse zone as well. Then it's giving you an overview, and if you like what you see, then you type yes to start configuring the system with these values. This is going to take a few minutes. You can see that it's going to install and create all stuff. Keep an eye on it, because if anything fails, well, you made an error and you need to do it again. And if it didn't fail, then yeah, probably it's going to be all right. If while waiting for the installation to proceed, you have any questions, feel free to ask. And if not, we need to wait for 3 minutes and 30 seconds. No questions? Let me just browse down in the chat. I think I do have a question. So one question, can we use this alternative Windows Active Directory? If the question means can we use this as an alternative to Windows Active Directory, it really depends on what you want to do with Active Directory. If you want to host applications that are written to talk to Active Directory, then yeah, in theory you can do it, but the database schema of what your application is expecting probably doesn't match with the configuration of this IPA server. So yes, Hussein, it can be done, but you do need someone who is skilled in the solution if you want to do it. It's not really easy. Ayman is asking, this will not work on CentOS 6.7. I think that Red Hat has started providing this software from Red Hat Enterprise Linux 6.3 on, so I would give it a try. But really, the software is included as a default part of 7, so if you can do it, better do it with 7. So for IPA, if we do not use the -DNS option with the install option, if you do not use the -DNS option with the install option, you don't get DNS in your IPA. The good thing is that after doing the basic installation, you can still add DNS with IPA-install-something, so you can do it later. But it will make the procedure more complicated. Hussein, I'm sorry for the answer I'm going to give you. What about group policy in IPA? I consider myself rather fortunate that I have never worked with group policy. I don't know, Hussein. Group policy is some Active Directory thing. It's about default settings and stuff. I don't know if that's going to work in IPA. Rob, you entered on hostname as FQDN, but I guess your hostname is not FQDN. I have two hostnames. That is the uname-n, that is the kernel hostname. Let's find out what it is. The hostname that you need to use in the IPA setup really needs to be an FQDN, because based on the hostname, it is going to find the DNS that you are going to use, and it is going to set up the Kerberos domain correctly. So regardless of what you have done in the hostname itself, this is pretty important. Robert, so the reverse resolution is why folks had problems when changing IPs. You have to add another one when you move to a different network. Yes, that is the least thing that you need to be doing. I hope that the IPA server in its configuration itself doesn't have the IP address stored anywhere. It would be lame if it does, wouldn't it? So yes, I guess that is because of the reverse resolution. We are almost there. Any other questions? Thank you for asking questions. I like answering questions and talking about stuff that you need to know about. How about if installation fails? Can we restart? Yes, if the installation fails and you restart it, it will tell you that I'm just wondering, Clint, what exactly is it that you want to say? Can you make it a phrase? Because I see entropy error and I don't really understand. Oh, your system is running out of entropy. Oh, yes, I see what you mean. You may experience long delays. Entropy means random data. It needs random data, and I don't want to have long delays, so I'm going to create some entropy on my system. Well, this is a system that is using a mouse, so this is probably going to help. Wow. Yum-install have gid -y install have ged have ged. Do I make a typo, Clint? Anyways, I think it is already provided enough entropy. There is apparently it's not in the repositories. Probably, Clint, what you are referring to is this command that you can use to generate entropy, which I don't remember, by the way. I don't use it often enough. But if you're on a server with a graphical interface, just move the mouse, and that will create random data for you as well. And it is almost there. The entropy, by the way, is needed in order to generate the certificates. And if you don't do anything and go have a cup of coffee or eat your dinner, thank you, Clint, Gianmarco, I noticed, then by the time you get back, it will be done as well. I think it's almost there. So what we can see here, it has applied LDAP updates. It is upgrading IPA, well, upgrading the server, so it's still working. We see the web interface and all the other stuff. We can already talk about firewalling. Firewall CMD, of course, is the new default firewall solution. And if we do a list all, then you can see that firewall D is not running. Hey, that was a smart decision that I've made. I wasn't even aware of it. It is not running just because I don't want to be talking about firewalling here. If you do want to do firewalling, systemctl status firewall D, and it is, oh, that is interesting, it has crashed. Started and enabled, and still it is inactive since 59 minutes ago. And you know what? I don't really care. I would even suggest systemctl stop firewall D. I don't want to focus on firewalling in this session. I want to focus on everything that is involved in IPA. In the document that I will be providing, I am providing a list of TCP ports and UDP ports that needs to be open. But yeah, the easier solution is to do systemctl stop firewall D, and of course systemctl disable firewall D. I think we are almost there, and I think my machine is struggling. Let me do top so that at the same time we can monitor memory utilization. As you can see, it's running out of available memory. And that is why, if you can afford it, run this machine on 2 gigabytes of RAM instead of 1 gigabyte. You can see it's quite heavily using swap already. It will slow down using swap, but for the installation you do need your memory. This is the overview of everything that you need to do now. So setup is complete. This is the message that you want to be seeing. There are some interesting things that we see here. The list of ports and the test. So the test that I want to be doing is KInit admin. KInit admin is initializing a Kerberos session as admin. So you enter the password for your admin user, and right now I am Kerberos admin. And because I can now use commands like IPA user add, which is a pretty cool command that allows you to add users. So let's call this user LDAP user 1, LDAP user 1, LDAP user 1, LDAP user 1, whatever. That's going to annoy me at some point in time. I would not recommend using this on your own Kerberos server, but this is showing how easy it is to set up a Kerberos user. And this Kerberos user is going to be what you need for Kerberized NFS as well as Kerberized login. Now, what else has happened? Well, we can see that there is a certificate that is created here, /root/cacert.p12. The interesting thing is that this is not the certificate that you are going to be needing for your user setup. The certificate that you are going to be needing for LDAP-based user authentication is in etc IPA. And in this directory, we can see ca.crt. This certificate is in the required PEM format, and this contains the certificate of the certificate authority that has signed the certificate of your IPA server. In my session about LDAP user authentication, I will explain that this certificate is wrong and you need to fix it. Now the next thing that you need to do, if you do want to specify firewalling, then you can set firewall. And another nice thing to do is klist to show Kerberos credentials. And basically, this is all you need to do to set up an IPA server. There is one more thing though, and that is the following: etcresolve.conf. etcresolve.conf. Oh, that is very nice. It has changed the name server to 127.0.0.1. This wasn't the case in the Red Hat 7.0 installation. They have now changed it in the 7.2 installation, so that the IPA server is also going to be used as the DNS server for this environment. Check it, because if it's still set to 8888, you definitely will have a problem configuring everything you want to do on this IPA server. There's something else I need to show you, and that is the web interface. That is a very nice web interface. Some of you do know that I do like e-links for everything I'm doing on web. Not the case for IPA. Really, we want to do that on HTTP. Localhost should work. Let's just do localhost and see if it's smart enough. Yes, it is smart enough to find out that is lab IPA-MTA-example.com, and it's providing the login interface. In this login interface, you will log in as admin with the admin password that you have just set, and you click login. Next, it is authenticating, and right here you can see anything you want to do. Identity policy authentication. Any idea why this solution has the name IPA? IPA stands for Identity, Policy, and Authentication. So identity, if you want to create users, it's right here that you can do it. Your users groups are right here, and so on. What you are also going to like is the Network Services tab. On the Network Services tab, you've got this DNS option. and everything that needs to be done in DNS is right here. So if you are going to use this IPA server for Kerberized authentication, for Kerberized NFS, the least you need to do is to add the other servers right here. So server 1 with an address record and 192.168.4.201. Good idea to create a reverse zone as well, and then you click add and you repeat this procedure for all servers that you need to add to the environment. Basically, for what we need to know to pass the RHCSA and the RHCE test, it is IPA users and it is the network services and DNS that is important. The other options are very nice to know. If you want to set default policies, for example, then you click the policy tab and something should be happening. We have seen that the server is tight on memory, so it takes a while, probably will appear at some point in time. IPA server is for your default IPA server settings. Administrator is for, oh no, administrator. I was so glad that I could log in as admin and look at what it has done. It isn't admin that I am, I'm administrator. Okay, if I want to change settings for this administrator user, I can do that right here. This is the web interface. Apart from the web interface, there is the IPA command. If you just type IPA, it's going to tell you what it needs. Well, it needs IPA help topics. If you do IPA help topics, then you can see a list of all the topics that are supported by IPA. Hey, and let me tell you, I am just telling you about this IPA server now from the perspective of RHCSA and RHCE. It is a useful tool and it is much easier to set up than Open LDAP. But there are companies that are using this IPA server to replace the functionality that's normally offered by an Active Directory server. So I previously had the question, can it do the same as an Active Directory server? Well, there are certain levels where you will get in trouble, but if it's just basic authentication and joining machines to the IPA server, absolutely, it can do. Eric is asking where to set defaults like shell. I would do that using the policy option in the identity management web interface, Eric. That is easiest. Everything can be done from the command line as well, but you know, I'm a lazy guy and I have a lot to do focusing on RHCSA and RHCE stuff. So identity policy, click here and you will be all right if you have enough memory. Don't know what is happening. Oh, this is happening. I've got a zombie. Ivan, when you mention Active Directory, can FreeIPA talk with Microsoft Active Directory? If you mean talk as in one LDAP server to another LDAP server, yes, that is correct. If you can make it, wow, Shaq, thank you. And Gianmarco is saying, yes, it can even Kerberos cross forest. Thank you for that addition, Gianmarco. Basically, this brings me to the end of what I want to show you for this session. If you set up the IPA server in this way, then you've got all you need to handle user authentication on LDAP and user authentication on NFS, on Kerberos. Just reading the question, have you checked the Zential? I think they are using IPA. No, I have not. Is that something like this, Hussein? I will have a look. Do we have any other questions? If not, I still owe you something else. And that is on my website. Where is my website? This is my website. If you go to my website, and you don't go to a sub-page, but just to rhcert.com, then this is the link where you can access the downloads. And you know what? I don't like the way it works right now. Please, would you mind, the first time you are getting there, use this link, and after that, use DWNLDS instead. You may have noticed, oh sorry, you don't see it, thank you. I forgot that I need to switch screen. Give me a second. Working on it right now. There we go. You should see my website now, is that correct? Okay, so what you need is this link /DWNLDS instead of downloads. Easy to remember, I guess. And well, Brenda isn't going to like it, but that allows you to access my content without logging in first. The problem is that if you revisit my website, you need to enter your email address and your name and all the marketing stuff again, and I hate it. I want you to enter that once only. I do appreciate knowing who you are, so that I can send you my newsletter and tell you about all those great new sessions that I will be presenting. But if it's just for the downloads, then go to the site directly. You can find my virtual machines here. You can also find last week's presentation on how to use my virtual machines here. You will be able to find the PDF with specific instructions for the different platforms pretty soon. You will find Appendix D, Setting Up Identity Management here. This is a replacement of the current Appendix D in the book. And you will also like, especially those of you that are studying for RHCE, you will like Mount a Kuberized NFS share to match with RHEL 7.2. This is the procedure that is going to work to set up Kuberized NFS. I will occasionally update the information I'm providing right here, and I'm providing it for free. So just go there. So the link is, I will put it in the chat, to rhcert.com/DWNLDS. So I've got one question for the exams. Which RHEL version is currently being used, 7.0 or 7.2? I need you to keep me updated, but right now it still is 7.0. The changes between 7.0 and 7.2 have been amazing, and I'm expecting the exam to be updated pretty soon. But right now, 7.0. Yeah, last week it was still 7.0, and I had the guy updating me last Tuesday, still 7.0. Justin, I am aware of your issues. We've been emailing about it, and I will get back to you privately. So I hope you enjoyed my session. Keep an eye on the social media, because I think I will be announcing an 11th session pretty soon. Next Friday, same place, same time. I hope you'll enjoy your weekend, and talk to you soon. Bye-bye.